Beltrami County Board meeting to order and stand for the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll go to the general comments tonight, and for any citizens that want to address the board, anyone wishing to address the county board on an item not on the agenda may come forward at this time to be recognized by the board chair. Please state your name and address for the record. Comments are limited to 5 minutes. And a personal complaint against individual county employee may not be heard at initially at a board meeting. Personnel complaints may be submitted to the board in writing through the county administrator's office. A person addressing the board may not use profanity or vulgar language. Anybody want to come and address the board? I see former Commissioner Lukacek, come on up.
Jim Lukacek, 13318 Wildwood Road, Northeast, Bemidji, Minnesota. I'm here again to request a special request to the county board. I've basically been turned down to put what's called an unsolicited article in the newsletter. The newsletter committee came up with some requirement that said they don't take unsolicited newsletters but I'll cut right to the chase. This is a very serious matter. More people I talk to in the county, constituents, general public, very, very, very little information, very little knowledge about the redistricting issue, the redistricting vote, the redistricting lawsuit, the undo of that lawsuit, the undo of the bad redistricting plan that was adopted by the county board by a vote of 3-2, that was reversed. The judge basically acted completely against that action and said that it should never have happened. It was against state statute. The county board needs to do their homework better on serious matters like that. I don't know where the restrictions came that said they can only have a 500-word article. This matter needs more than 500 words to the constituents. And in 2030, if any of you are still sitting on the board, you can give me a call and say thank you, because your redistricting matter is going to go really quick. It was done with great foresight as to what the next redistricting issue was going to do. So my request is to put the matter to a board vote to allow, and if you won't take the letter that I put together, I tried to write an article that was very un-Trump, very diplomatic. I didn't name names. I wanted to, but I didn't call anybody out. I thought the article was well written. It needs more than 500 words. It's a very important matter. I want to make sure that the people know that in the state of Minnesota, when a plaintiff brings suit and is successful, you do not get reimbursed any of your charges. Me and my co-plaintiff spent $50,000 fighting what we felt was a bad decision by the county board. The judge found in our favor. We got nothing back. I asked for $4,000 in transcription charges that both you and your attorney used. And it was a very critical in that whole lawsuit. We transcribed county board meetings. They didn't even give us transcription expenses back. So the co-plaintiff spent $50,000, never got a nickel back. The county commissioners that voted 3-2 did not lose one nickel. The only people that were out was the county constituents that had to pay for an attorney to defend the county board's bad decision. So I ask respectfully if you would consider allowing a newsletter, news article, whatever you want to call it, to be put in the Beltrami County newsletter. It needs to be more than 500 words. I have submitted that. The response to that was from a couple of commissioners is that it was kind of long. Would you be okay with paring it down a bit? Yeah, I'll compromise. But again, it's a very serious matter. It's very straightforward. It mentions statutes. It's It's not an opinion. It is a judge's action. It's very serious case law. And I believe that it will put forth to future county boards to really do your homework on redistricting, because it was a serious matter and it ended up getting reversed and undone. So I ask that in all due respect. If you would take that matter forward, let me know what else I can do. I have submitted that article to you folks and would appreciate that. If for nothing else, 14 years as a past county commissioner, I sat back there. I know what that seat feels like. And I've had people come up and address me and ask for things. And I didn't do everything right in 14 years. There was a lot of things that had to be rethought, redone. The best thing you can ever do is look yourself in the mirror and say, maybe we better think about this a little longer. And it made me review and try to do homework before I made. Every vote you folks make is an important vote, and it all has some consequences, and it all has to do with a county that's 45,000 people. You're representing a lot of folks. So if you would do that, I would appreciate it. Let me know what else I can do. I made offer that Laura Hanson, she has a married name, but I always go by what she was with the real name. She was the chair of the redistricting committee. If you would rather that article come from her, a more neutral source, so to speak, I've talked to her and asked her if she would review and put together facts that would reflect that. And it might send better when it's not coming from the lead plaintiff on a lawsuit, might come better from her because she was voted by a committee of 5 to be the chair of that redistricting mission. So whatever you can do there, I would appreciate it. I will give you my word that I'm going to come back to you as much as I can. If I don't get action, I want something published countywide. Newspapers aren't doing it. It should come from the source. It should come from the county. So with that, thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Is there anybody else wanting to speak to the board? Does not look like it. So we will move on to approval of the agenda. Look for a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Commissioner Winger,
Second.
second by Commissioner Carlson. Any discussion? All in favor of approving the agenda as submitted, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The agenda is approved 5-0. Motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion by Commissioner Sumner. The second. Second by Commissioner Winger. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we have 5-0 approval of the consent agenda. Thank you. And moving on to our regular agenda, we have dispatch overtime pay resolution. I believe our sheriff is here to briefly talk to us about that situation.
Good evening, commissioners. I hope you guys are all staying warm the last couple of days. Sheriff Jason Riggs, talking to you today. Here recently through December and the first part of January, our emergency communication center has found itself struggling with staffing. We've recently had 2 of our staff members in the PSAP resign due to moving on with careers and family matters. And then we've had another individual who was in training that has moved on, and a 4th that has moved on just because of not making the requirements for being able to complete the job. That's put us at a staffing ratio of about 61%, which is critical. I'm here tonight to talk to you about our PSAP manager, Jana Signa. has been working feverishly through overtime measures that she's not being compensated for. And as of county personnel policy 8.1, some exempt employees can receive overtime in critical staffing requirements or staffing situations. And I feel that we're currently at that current situation right now. This would have very little impact on my budget due to salary savings. As it stands, being down, we're currently down 5 positions in the PSAP. We were at the process of hiring one. But it takes anywhere from 6 to 9 months, as Commissioner Winger knows, to train these folks. So it's not just an overnight fix of hiring people and having them capable of sitting in a chair and answering our 911s and dispatching calls. So what I'm here to ask you tonight is to approve Janice for the overtime. There's going to be some caveats with it. Administrator Barry and I have drafted a resolution that would be authorizing her to do so under those caveats. I don't have them exactly word for word, but basically at the approval of the chief deputy or myself within a certain time period of filling the shifts. And her shift is already spelled out in the county personnel policy as being from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And so anything outside of those hours that she would have to work would be overtime. And I guess that's kind of what I'm looking for as of right now. If anybody has any questions, I would certainly answer any of those questions.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner Gould.
in the resolution, it says, it's just one sentence, I'll read it. It says, the emergency communication supervisor shall not accept any overtime shifts until and unless all other telecommunicators have rejected such shifts or are scheduled to do so within 3 days of the shift. Could you talk about the 3 days of the shift? Is that like if there's still that shift that needs to be filled tomorrow or 2 days from now, she couldn't do that?
She can't sign herself up for that shift until we're inside of that 3 days.
Okay.
Yeah, so she couldn't, like 5 days out, take a shift ahead of a union employee. So,
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yep, go ahead, Commissioner Sumner.
for the sake of discussion, I'll make a motion to approve the overtime pay exempt dispatch.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Sumner and a second by Commissioner Carlson. Further discussion or questions for our sheriff?
Mr. Chair.
Yep, go ahead, Commissioner Sumner.
Sheriff, I'm just kind of curious. I know this is you're anticipating a 9-month period for this to be in place, but I'm kind of wondering how this might, affect Janice and her potential burnout. Or do you have something in place?
we're gonna really monitor the amount of shifts. Like they've already been making arrangements for like really limiting time off that's not 100% emergency. And so that's in an effort to obviously try to keep her from burning out. We do have a current trainee that is like, she's a rock star when it comes to this job. And so her training period of time is almost up. And we're hoping that that'll help alleviate some of that as well. But we can only train 2 people at a time effectively in there. And it takes 6 to 9 months. And so as people transition through, we're hoping that in a few months, we can get the next set of people hired to start that training process with their first phases as well. So, but we are monitoring that, and that is a very much a big concern of mine. We've gone through this issue with the jail a few years back, where we kind of reached that. I think we were at, Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we were like at 48%.
Yeah.
38%, I think. At one
Yeah,
point.
maybe some of you guys might have actually been on that study. And so, 61, that's a little over half of the staffing. Thankfully, we're not below that. We don't anticipate in the near future anybody below that. And we're hoping that within a few months, having a couple people trained up, that will even alleviate Janice having to work that much less.
Are you recruiting from other agencies or what's your plan,
As,
poaching?
as much as that's highly discouraged from my counterparts, yes, we are.
Okay. Well, every other department does it, so,
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that, your department you're doing everything that they can, to ensure that you're staffed, because I understand that, dispatchers, our telecommunicators are the first line, and the stress that they deal with, I want to make sure that
They are,
we offer, are able to help you in any way that we can. So
yeah, they are very important to us for sure, sir.
thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yep, thank you. Other questions for Sheriff Riggs?
I have
Commissioner
one.
Winger?
Do you have anybody working anywhere else that started in dispatch, so they're trained, that could also help fill in?
We do have a couple of bailiffs, that during, COVID, Sheriff Beidel actually that realized that we might find ourselves in a pickle with the 10-day quarantine that we might. We've actually considered that as an option, but since moving from LETG to Pro Phoenix, we would be starting back at square one with those folks. So it's almost better, like, we can probably get people hired relatively quickly in comparison. It's just a matter of getting them trained, and so the training environment would probably be close to the same.
Thank you.
It's a good thought, though, Commissioner
Yeah,
Winger.
very good thought.
Any other questions for the sheriff? I'll call for the question then. If no further discussion, all those in favor of approving the request for the overtime pay resolution dispatch, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right,
Thank you,
got it,
gentlemen.
5-0, thank you.
Stay warm, please.
Yeah, we're moving in the right direction that way, so. All right, we'll go on to the commissioner business items, legislative lobbying issues, and we'll combine that with commissioner reports. Commissioner Sumner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I did attend the Black Duck Ambulance committee last week sometime. It was good to be back. There's a lot of discussion about, the emergency, I think, the grant that they received, which has been really helpful. So good to be back. I believe I have a extension meeting next Monday. And I will be at the AMC Board of Directors meeting this Friday. That's in conjunction with the new commissioners training. So, yeah, that's my report. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Sumner. Commissioner Winger?
I went to the solid waste meeting this morning. I'll kind of let you fill everybody in on that one. 'Cause
Okay.
you're, well, more versed in that. That was my first meeting and I learned a lot. And I'm going to the new commissioner training down the cities for the next few days, so.
Great. That will be a very enlightening thing for you. That'll get the fire hose drinking there. So I'm Commissioner Gould.
Thank you. KRLS met last Thursday. I attended that. We got a Northwest Juvenile Center meeting coming up on Thursday. I'm doing chat about tomorrow. Next week, I have a AMC legislative meeting over Zoom. And then Joint Powers Board for Natural Resources next Monday as well. That's it.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Gould. Commissioner Carlson?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Last almost 2 weeks ago now, we had the AMC Lunch and Learn about Narcan, and Commissioner Gosvig and I were there along with Chris Muller. Thanks to Chris for opening that up for us. Had a Liberty Township visit just to get familiar with those folks. That's in my new district. Had an Airport Affairs Council meeting. I had a Prime West meeting. Had a BECLARA, which is the Beltrami County Lakes and Rivers Association quarterly meeting. We had the jail DNO committee, and you've already heard from Administrator Barry about some of the updates there about what we're proposing to bring to the board, a proposal to initiate that study on the building. I think that will be maybe come before us next meeting. Is that possible?
That's the intention. Yes, sir.
Okay. And then we had the Airport Authority Board meeting last Wednesday. And then I filled in for Craig at the Tri-County Emergency Medical Joint Powers Board and had a Greater Bemidji meeting. And so we're moving out of the Greater Bemidji thing. I think the thing that might be important that you might want to know about is where are we at with the YMCA? And they're moving along. There's a couple questions that have to be settled by the city of Bemidji. And depending on how that gets settled, that will kind of determine the movement forward. I think it looks favorable. But you know, it's a big ask on the city's part, with regard to the cleanup of the site and the infrastructure and how they do the infrastructure. So, big question for them. Not easy questions, but, once they finally make their decision, then we'll have a more clear understanding of what will happen with the Y. But that's all I have.
Great. Thank you, Commissioner Carlson. I had a couple things. One, I thought that I went and did the first chat about session after our meeting. I thought that went well. It just seems to flow good to, to have the information about our work session topics that we normally wouldn't know much about because we haven't had it yet. And so I thought that was a good move by Kev Jackson to switch that. You mentioned the airport authority meeting that we had. And thank you for filling in for me on the Black Duck EMS board. I had a continuing education training that I would have much rather been at the Black Duck board for my electrical license, but sitting through 8 hours of continuing ed that day instead, so I couldn't make it there. Our solid waste committee meeting this morning, probably the biggest topic there is our demo landfill situation, and Administrator Barry and it brought up to the group, we're concerned about whether or not we, the focus on the 9-county hub and spoke thing and the funding situation at the state, just concerned about that, the likelihood of us getting that, being pretty tough since we didn't get it when they had a huge surplus. And so we're looking at what is the real future capability of our demo landfill? And we've tasked Brian to come back to us and let us know if there wasn't a permit timeframe involved, the current situation that we have with the land and the fill capabilities of it, how long could that take us? And to 2034, what's a year on that? And look at maybe going another angle with the legislators to see if we can get an extension or whatever to not stop the rulemaking and give us an extension so we're not up against the wall of not having a place for our demo landfill stuff to go. So that's it for me. You mentioned you've got chat about tomorrow. I'm not sure who's got management team, but they can look at the.
Mr. Chair.
Yep, you have something? Mr. Sumner?
Well, looking at the management team, it appears that I missed January 15th. I guess I wasn't aware. Usually they send out an email reminding of the meeting, so
Oh.
I'm not too sure what happened there. I would have been there, but
Okay,
didn't receive notification.
okay, you got the next one? All right, great. Anything else to bring before the board? Otherwise, we'll look for a motion to adjourn. Yep, go ahead, Mr. Carlson.
I'm gonna ask that we add a discussion at our next meeting regarding the request from Commissioner Lukacek, that we have a discussion about that.
Yep, can we add that to the work session topics?
I don't know if it's work session. I think maybe it'll be a board meeting.
Well, we could talk about it in the work session and then bring it to the board meeting if there's consensus.
Okay.
That would be a
That's fine.
typical way of doing it.
Sure. How much time would the board like on the agenda for that item?
I would think it wouldn't be more than 10 minutes or whatever.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. We'll make sure
Okay.
it's happening.
Mr. Chair,
Yep.
Tom, can you remind me of what our policy states about bringing items forward?
Okay, so if it's non-controversial, then the administrator has authority to bring it forward and put it on the agenda. If it's something that appears to be controversial, or is from an outside entity or organization or something that doesn't have business with the county or that sort of stuff, then it would come to the board and it would come under the future agenda items section of the work section. of the, you know, work meeting. And then, the board can talk about it at that point in time, and then they would essentially, need to agree 3 to 2 or more, like there have to be a quorum that agreed to put it on the agenda, in order to be advanced. That cannot be discussed at that particular meeting. It would go on the meeting following. So, that's how that's been addressed in the most recent policy for agenda setting.
That's why I thought we'd bring it to the work session, discuss it, find out what, I'm not on the newsletter committee, so find out what has been discussed in the newsletter committee and what the consensus of the board is. If we have enough consensus to bring it to an agenda item, then we'll put it on the next board meeting's agenda for us to
So
vote on.
potentially the February 19th.
The second February, yeah, whatever it is, 18th, 19th. Yep. That sound
I'm
fair?
sure that we have enough time
Yep.
to go through it.
Okay. All right, nothing else. I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Gould. Second by Commissioner Carlson. All in favor of adjourning, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Can stay. Thanks.